I think we'll get going now. My name is Patria Malone. I'm an advocacy project worker with Inclusion Ireland, and I have had a particular interest in this area of post-school transitions for quite some time and have walked along over the last couple of years with the Department of Education and Youth and the National Council for Special Education on this project. We're looking forward to an evening of hearing about the comprehensive employment strategy post-school transitions pilot run by the National Council of Special Education for the Department of Education and Youth. So tonight we'll hear some of the key learning, some of the key learning to date from this pilot project. I do want to note that the formal reporting on this project will be in the near future. So we're not reporting on data from the project as of yet, but we thought it would be valuable for you to know of some of the key learning and experiences of this project to date. We'll hear from, as I've mentioned, the Department of Education and Youth, from a young woman who will speak to us on the value of having transition support, and from the National Council for Special Education and a principal of a special school. On the call tonight, we have both parents and professionals, about of equal measure, and we had about 150 people register for this evening. So we know there's an appetite for this information, and I'm delighted to bring it to you this evening. Just a few housekeeping pieces, just that you know this webinar will be recorded. Many of you did submit questions upon registration. Those questions have been shared thematically with our panelists. The Q&A will be open. If you have further questions that you would like perhaps to be attended to at the end of this hour, if we have the time, my colleague Emer will be answering those live as well. And if we don't get to your questions, we'll attempt in a follow-up email to answer these questions, provide you with resources and contact information of each of our panelists along with their slides as well. Another colleague here on screen is Quiva, and she's our IT specialist this evening. For our agenda, we'll begin with a welcome from Derval McDonough, our CEO of Inclusion Ireland, and then move into the history and context of the Comprehensive Employment Strategy Transition Pilot will be delivered by Derek Newcomb of the Department of Education and Youth. Inclusion Ireland advocate Tamara Byrne will speak next on her student experience and the importance of transition support. Patrick Whitlow of the National Council of Special Education will give us the operational context of the pilot project in the 41 special schools. And our final panelist will be Maria Allen of the Midwest School of the Deaf, a special school in Limerick. So to begin, I'd like to invite you, Derval, to give us a welcome.
Thank you so much, Patria, for that, and really looking forward to the webinar this evening. As Patria has pointed out, this is part of our series of webinars, live events and information sessions this year, where we support people with access to information about topics that matter to you in your life or the life of your family member. So as Patria has outlined, this evening is focused on the importance of transition planning from school, and we're pleased to have the involvement of the Department of Education and Youth and the National Council for Special Education as they share really critical information with us about the school transition pilot at this point. To us at Inclusion Ireland, the transition to adulthood is critically important. It is a time when your rights really need to be respected and when there can be a lot of uncertainty, fear and worry. What we want, of course, at this time is less of those feelings and more of hope. hope for a positive future full of possibility and equal opportunity for accessing the good things in life. What that looks like for every young person is different, and we absolutely must hear young people's voices and let the voices of young people guide us. The most important, I'm sure our panelists will agree, the most important voice of all this evening, of course, is that of Tamara Byrne, as she shares her lived experience of transitions and what's important to her in her life. But a really warm welcome to each and every one of you for joining us. Just to note, the best way that you can support Inclusion Ireland's work is by becoming a member of Inclusion Ireland. This isn't a money-making exercise for us. It only costs between €1 or €10, but you can join on our website. And that's the best way you can stay in touch with us, be part of our movement for change. We can consult with you and keep you informed. So do consider joining us and joining our movement. But I'll hand back over to Patria right now as our MC to guide us through the rest of the evening. And I hope you enjoy and find it informative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Derval. We'll move on now to Derek Newcomb of the Department of Education and Youth. And Derek will give us an overview of the comprehensive employment strategy. Derek?
Thanks, Patria. And firstly, I just want to thank Inclusion Ireland for the opportunity to speak to you all this evening. This is really a core key issue for the department, for all the departments at the moment, as you can see that from all of the media exposure to on the transitions in the transitions area. But anyway, my name is Derek Newcomb. I'm Assistant Principal Officer in Special Education section in the department, and I have responsibility for the CES Transitions Pilot Programme. I'm going to be brief because the other speakers have much more interesting things to say than I do. I'm just going to give you an overview of the pilot, its purpose, and what we hope to achieve from it. So what is transitions or guidance, or what are we trying to achieve? Everyone involved in the education system, that's the school staff, the parents, the department, support agencies like the NCSE or NEPS, are trying to ensure that all students leaving school are as prepared as they possibly can be for adult life and all its challenges. That's a key goal for every school, for every student. So what is the CES pilot and what's the purpose of it? The pilot, as the name would suggest, stems from the Comprehensive Employment Strategy. And the key areas of action of the strategy were to enhance education, training and pathways into work for young adults with disabilities. That was the key focus of the actual strategy. And as part of the strategy, the transitions pilot was established in 2022. There was an action by the Department of Education to meet some of the key demands within the strategy. And it's a pilot program to support the transition of young people with disabilities to improve access and opportunities for post-school options. And initially, the first 20 schools were a mix of mainstream and special schools. The in-school element of the program finished in June 2024. And that phase has been evaluated by an external company. It was commissioned by the NCSE, and the report is expected really, really soon. The NCSE are engaging with the company that carried out the research just to finalise the report, and then they will present that report and its findings. And I know we're being asked, like, why is it now? Why is it only in special schools? Why is it limited to special schools? And the second phase of the pilot, we sought approval to run a second phase of the pilot, but we were limited in number of hours. We had about 12,500 teaching hours approximately for the full year. And we wanted to see how we could use those hours to provide us with the best feedback and the best learnings and all the information that we were required to establish maybe or scale up a transition service across all special schools and to support all of the mainstream schools as well. So the decision was taken to run the second phase of the pilot in special schools only. And there was a couple of reasons for that. Primarily, special schools are designated primary schools under the Education Act, and therefore they don't get an allocation of guidance counselling. There's also a commitment under the National Strategic Framework for Lifelong Guidance and in the new programme for government to provide guidance or transitions supports in all special schools. And under the new National Human Rights Strategy for Disabled People from 2025 to 2030, there is a goal to develop a national policy on transitions. And we're currently a co-chair of the steering group to complete this work in conjunction with DCDE and DFARS. And that group was only established in the last few weeks, and it'll be commencing work straight away after Christmas. We're just getting the terms of reference and things like that together. And then we'll be inviting different organizations, different groups, different stakeholders to submit and to be involved in the development of that policy. So what we're trying to do really is to complete these actions, and we're trying to address the lack of guidance and transition support in special schools. But to do that, we need to see what guidance or transitions would look like in special schools. And only the schools are able to tell us what they need. Their needs are all so different, they're all so unique. All of the profiles in the schools are also unique. So the special schools really are the people that will be able to tell us exactly what transition supports students with additional needs will need to make that transition as smooth as possible, to make wherever the transition will be, to make that as smooth as possible. And we're hoping that this pilot will be able to teach us and to provide the information that we need to progress the transition policy and to progress the actions to deliver guidance counselling or transitions support or whatever in the special schools. In relation to the support in mainstream schools and special classes, we know there are concerns here. Okay, many of the guidance counsellors in mainstream schools are meeting students with complex needs for the first time with the opening of the special classes in their mainstream schools. And they are asking for direction and for advice and for help in relation to how to do that. And they need the information that we're gathering from this pilot programme to be able to support the guidance counsellors that are working in the mainstream schools. So my colleagues in the curriculum and assessment and policy area in the department who have responsibility for guidance will be issuing updated advice on whole school guidance to mainstream post-primary schools in the new year. And this will include information for students, with additional needs. That'll be one of the key focuses of this new advice. And the guidance counsellors are asking for this support themselves. Like they're coming to us directly and asking us for support, especially when they don't have any portal, they don't have any website or anything to try and source the information that they need. So our hope from this pilot is that all of the informations and learnings from the schools, from the students, from the parents, from the different organisations involved, will be held in a repository or a portal and will be available to all students across the country. I imagine that this will be a key objective of the Transitions Policy Steering Group. Now, DCU, for anybody that's not aware of it, DCU have a website called style.ie, that's stial.ie, that actually provides a lot of information for people with disabilities for accessing third level or training or courses or whatever. And they already have started that. They have kind of they're a step ahead of what the departments and what the different organizations are trying to achieve. But this has been a huge priority for the departments, all of the departments, DFARS and ourselves, social protection, the HSE, for the last couple of years. And we have a lot of information that's out there, but it's just not in one repository. It's just not available at the touch of a button like it should be. And we would love if we could have a system where you could actually go in, something like the social welfare system, where you can go in and you can ask a question and it will give you the advice or click onto the different areas that you need to address. So getting back to the purpose of the pilot, and I know there has been concerns from some parents that the purpose of the pilot in the different schools is to try and redirect students away from adult services or adult training programs or whatever that are under huge pressure. And that is absolutely not the purpose of this pilot. It's the exact opposite of what we're trying to achieve. So the purpose of the pilot as such is not to change pathways into adult life, but it's to provide information to students and families getting ready to leave school on all of the options and supports available to them. So that's what this is all about. It's all about information. It's all about the support. It's all about the options. All students, including those in special schools or special classes, are entitled to make their own choices regarding their future. This happens every day in mainstream schools, and it needs to happen every single day in special schools as well. Students in mainstream schools make decisions, and some of those decisions don't work out. But students in special schools are expected, or students in special classes are expected to make a decision that can decide their pathway for life just at the very end of their school cycle. So coming up to the last year in school, they're asked to make these key decisions. We need to give all of the students, we need to encourage all of the students and the schools to look at all the possibilities, but more importantly, to look at all the supports that are available. This is critical, and it's critical for the success of the pilot, and it'll be critical for the success of the transitions policy, and it'll be critical for the smooth transitions of all of the students that are leaving our schools. And I'll just give you an example of what this does. A student might want to take up employment with a local business, but they're not sure if they will be able to do it. So we're all nervous trying new things. The employer might be happy to offer the student an opportunity, but they might not be aware of the supports available. And the parents may not be aware of what this will mean for them, or how do I get the student to the job, etc. And all of these issues come up all of the time. What happens if, but the pilot provides all of the information, and then the student can decide, or the student, in conjunction with their parents, the same as all students do. This is not about solving all the barriers that exist, but it'll hopefully provide students and families with the information they need to make a decision. There's nothing worse than looking back and saying, if I'd known that, I would have done it differently. I hope that gives an overview of where we're at with the pilot program. And as I said to Patria before, if anybody has any questions or if they want anything answered, they're free to email me at any time, and I'll try and answer any of the queries. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Derek. I know we're not allocating much time, and you did a very good job of giving us that picture, the big picture. And it's I think assuring to know, that the Department of Education and Youth is putting a lot of time, energy, and talent into this area with a vision of it progressing. So thank you. We're going to move on to Tamara Byrne. As I've mentioned, Tamara is an advocate who has spoken both in Ireland and the European front as well on her experiences in education. Tamara? Tamara, we need you to unmute there. There we are.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my session of my story. My name is Tamara Byrne. I am strong self-advocate. And a member of the Inclusion Ireland and the Inclusion Ireland Board Subcommittee. Today is about including people. What happens sorry, I'll start again.
That's fine. Take your time, Tamara.
Yeah. What today is about including people, what happens for when they are leaving education. This is something that I feel very strongly about personally. UNCPRD says that we have the right to the best ability education so that we can achieve our dreams. But things changed when I was leaving secondary school. Leaving school was terrible for me. I started to have depression and anxiety. the closure, the end of secondary school was to go to sorry, I felt nervous about my future, and the school brought me to a day service. I could see it before I went there, and I wasn't asked if that is what I wanted. For a lot of people with intellectual disabilities, cho cho chosen for them after school. I wanted to keep learning. My family and the day service staff saw I was really unhappy when they asked what was wrong. I wanted to go to college like my friends and my neighbors too. It is important that teachers and departments to people about what they want leaving school and help them to make a better future. People need support to know they are making their choices in their own lives, and everyone should be helped to make it happen. You need to realize that we have a lot of unique skills and we have so much to offer to society. People learn from us, but we need to be given the opportunity and the support. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Tamara. Before I leave you, though,
Yeah.
I would like to ask you a question, because
Yeah.
one thing I've heard you say quite often is that when you were in school, even,
Yeah.
people had lower expectations of you.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
When I was leaving school, the only choice that was chosen for me was go to a day service, and I felt that leaving school, I thought I had a future after school, but it turned out that my only choice was go to a day service, and I actually thought it wasn't enough for me that people made the choice that tomorrow you have to go to a day service after school, but I really didn't want to. That was not the way I wanted to finish school. I wanted to go to college like everyone else and be like everyone else, be a student, learn from the future. That's what I wanted to be in college after school. That's the future I wanted to have.
And in that experience tomorrow, what helped you to realize, to make that transition?
The help I got was I had enough of the day service. I decided to leave because I wasn't happy in there. As I said in my presentation, after leaving school, I had depression and anxiety, which didn't help me at all, like with my situation after school. I felt like I had no future. I didn't know what my future was going to be like. But that changed when I went to college. It opened new doors for me, made me feel myself again and happy. And every student should make their own decisions on what they want to do after school. No one should tell them that, oh, you have to go to this place and that place. They should have a right to make their own decisions, no matter what people say or think they want them to do.
Thank you very much, Tamara. Much appreciated. And that leads us well into our next section, our next speaker, who is going to speak to what does this transitions pilot look like in the schools at present? Patrick.
Thanks very much, Patria, and thanks, Tamara, for sharing your story. Just check there, Patria, is my screen okay? Can you see my slides? Yeah, I see
It
you.
is. Yeah,
fine.
very good. Thank you.
So thanks. Like Patria said, my name is Patrick Whitlow. It's a pleasure to be here. I work for the National Council for Special Education in the area of transitions. And CES pilot, as Derek has outlined, is about exploring post-school options for young adults. And again, like Derek said, I'm open to any questions you may have this evening or after this evening if you think of it, and we can share our details through Inclusion Ireland. So Derek has given up the CES pilot overview. I'm going to talk a little bit about policy and practice, what has worked well in schools, and maybe what's next for the pilot and what we see as an organisation doing it, or working, should I say, in the area of transitions. So the CES pilot works with 41 special schools. So here's a map of Ireland. And it's not very clear, but there are 41 blue dots somewhere on that map. And these are the 41 special schools that we work with for the last 2 years in the area of transitions. So we'll hear from Maria from the Midwest School for the Deaf in Limerick shortly. And Maria is the principal of that school. But we've had the pleasure of working with 40 other fantastic principals and teachers in those schools, and obviously the students that they support and teach. And we've heard a lot of very good stories and explored many pathways with those students. So the CES pilot looks, like Derek said, about exploring options for the students. It's not about advocating for one pathway over another. It's all about giving choice and seeing what options are out there. A colleague of mine once said that it's looking for the optimum pathway. And I still think of that to this day, that it's not that one is better than the other, but we have to listen to the students, like Tamara said, we have to hear their voice. What are their strengths? What do they want to do, and listen to them. So each school in the pilot has 6 hours per week. That equates roughly to just over one school day, where the teacher will work specifically on transitions. And that looks different in every single school. It really depends. Like the last bubble there said, context is so important, but so is getting to knowing the children, what interests they have, what strengths they have, and what options are available locally and nationally for them. We would advocate for planning for transitions, that transitions are to be expected. We know that these young adults will leave school at some stage in the near future. Maybe they're in their last year, maybe they're in their second last year. But it doesn't take a mathematician to work out when these children will be leaving. And we would always advocate for skill development over content, because skills are transferable to different settings. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of slides. Derek has outlined a number of areas in his introduction about different departments, policymakers who are looking at transitions very closely. So the first one there is the comprehensive employment strategy, that where this pilot came out of. There are a number of other ones there. We talked earlier about the rights of the children, that this is a rights-based approach. So there is Irish and EU legislation. There are curriculum changes. So if we look at the level 1, level 2 senior cycle that was enacted last September, that is a change in the right direction for young people leaving schools with special educational needs, making sure that they are interacting with a curriculum that is fit for purpose and that is addressing their educational needs. And as well, there are times where policy follows practice. This is an area, I believe, where good practice in schools like the Midwest School for the Deaf is going to change policy and change it for the better, so that hopefully all children will leave school with guidance, with transition support, and hopefully transition to the optimum pathway for them. And like has been said earlier, that education is a journey, that is not where they transition to will not be the end point for them. It's just the next step on the ladder for them, and where they go won't be where they finish up. They may go to HSE Day Service, National Learning Network, third level university, whatever it is, but it is just one step in the journey. We would be very, very strong on that in the NCSE. Derek has mentioned this already, so I won't labour on it, but there is the National Human Rights Strategy for Disabled People 2030. It was launched about maybe a month, 2 months ago at this stage, and there is an entire pillar there on transitions. So like Derek said, a lot of departments are working very, very hard in this area and understand its importance. So what's working well in the pilot? We have a report. It hasn't been launched yet, but the initial findings are very clear that it's split up really into four main areas: choice, voice, expectations, and targeted support. So we'll go through each of these. The choice is very, very important. What we do in the pilot is we try and make through the teachers, we try and make students more aware of the possibilities and options that are available to them. We look at local networks and communities. What's in your local community? What's in Cork? What's in Limerick? Where are you living? And the context and setting specific. So what context are you in? What are the needs of the young people? What are the strengths of the young people? But it's all about choice, giving them that choice. And then by giving them the choice, you need to listen to their voice. But not only the young person, there are a number of very key stakeholders involved in this. So we would look to the student, obviously first, the young person. We would look to their families who know them best, the teachers in the schools and the SNAs. And Maria, you'll laugh now, I should have put in principal there, but obviously all of the school community who work with them. And we need to listen to their voice, what they're telling us. But as well, when we talk about transitions, we need to listen to current students, but we need to listen to previous students as well, like Tamara. What are they telling us? What did we do well in the area of transitions, and what did we do not so well? So as an organisation, the NCSE are very conscious of that, and we try and promote that with teachers. And then expectations. So Patria, you mentioned it there about having high expectations. So belief does drive practice. If we believe that these children can succeed and can go on to do whatever they want to do, then we need to play a key part in that. But also, like people like Tamara coming here today, role play is very, very important. They need to see it to be it. So we need more advocates like Tamara, like a young girl, some of us know very well, Amy, who has been very, very instrumental in changing practice and being an advocate for the pilot. And then information versus knowledge. So Derek mentioned the pilot there. All the information is available to us if we Google it, but it's the knowledge element is trying to tie that together. So that's what we're trying to do with the pilot. We're trying to knit the information in with the teachers through high quality teacher professional learning and not turn them into guidance counsellors. That's not the purpose of this, but it's trying to show them what successful transitions would look like for their students. The target areas that we would focus on is independent skills, seeing what could they do for themselves, making sure that families are engaged early and often. Travel is very, very important. Looking at their local links, buses, trains, taxi networks, whatever it is, if they need to go to a post-school option, how are they going to get there? Their money, their finances. Are they able to do that? To be able to communicate for themselves? And then the organizational skills. So we will share these slides with you, but these are some of the target areas that we try and advocate for the teachers to do. And if when they plan for it and do these over and over again, different activities to build these skills, we do see that it makes a massive difference. So there are strategies for effective transition planning. We would advocate that you start early. You can never ever start early. One of the teachers on the pilot told us that they start planning for the transition out of his school when they enter the school. So straight away they are trying to build the skills, the independence in the special school that he works in. We would advocate again for visual tools, different organizational charts and so on, and allow young adults to familiarize themselves with new environments. That if they can go to new environments, familiarize themselves with them, then it will help ease the transition into the next school option. This is a slide that was designed by a colleague of mine. I got her permission to put it in tonight, and I think it just really sums up the whole CES pilot and what we try to achieve. Obviously, the student is at the centre of all of what we do. We need to build strong relationships with our students. We need to get their voice into it. We need to plan for it. We need to foster independence. We need to try and reduce anxiety, because we know there's anxiety both in the teachers, both in the students and the families that they are in. And we are about promoting optimum pathways, not one over another. So we look at all options. And even going into employment for some of these people is an option straight out of school, if that's what they wish to do. So Derek mentioned it earlier, that all students, regardless of having special educational needs or not, have the option of the different pathways. And we believe very much in the NCSE that all students should have those options. We've touched on this, what else is in the system, kind of backing up what we're saying, the lifelong guidance that Derek mentioned. There is a report earlier this year done by Selena McCoy in the ESRI on behalf of the NCSE. It looks at paths, tracks, gaps and cliffs, and it talks very much about the cliff edge that faces a lot of young people who have special educational needs. And when the CES evaluation that Patria talked about at the very start is launched, we'll share it, and maybe Inclusion Ireland will be kind enough to share it through their website and their links as well. So what is next? I'm not clairvoyant, I can't talk to the future, but there are very, very positive signs. This is a screen grab of the programme for government for the current government. And that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to build skills and capacity in young people and bridges from special schools into employment. That is from the programme of government. So hopefully it does come to fruition. And just to finish off, to recap on the main themes, we would advocate that the small transitions lead to bigger transitions. The big transition being leaving school, but the smaller transitions within school, to and from school, that leads to it. Plan early. Base your plans around the strengths, the interests, and the achievements of the young people. It's no one person's job, so don't expect the school to do all of this. Families, communities have to be involved, and keep expectations high. I'm glad Patria and Tamara have touched on that, because if we can keep expectations high for these young people, then I believe they can achieve a lot. So I'd like to thank you, and I'd just like to thank the schools, including Maria's, because we have learned a lot from them. I feel a bit of a fraud at times going to schools giving advice, because I'm often getting advice off them for what good practice is. So that's it. I will share my details through Inclusion Ireland, and you can feel free to send on my email and the slides to anyone who looks for them. Okay.
Thank you very much, Patrick. There's a lot of detail in that, and I will be sending out all the slides and all the resource ideas, many of them that have been mentioned here. Also to note that on the Inclusion Ireland website, and the post-school transitions page does contain a lot of this material already. If you haven't had a chance to peruse what we have on the website currently. I'd like to introduce now Maria Allen, principal of Midwest School of the Deaf in Limerick. Maria, thank you.
Thank you so much, Patria, and thanks to everybody who's gone before me. It's very difficult to follow up to Tamara, honestly. So I suppose my name is Maria. I'm the principal at the Midwest School for the Deaf, and as Patrick and Derek said, there's 41 schools in the project, so I'm the voice of one of those tonight. Just a little bit about our own school. We're there based in Rossbrine in Limerick, where we see ourselves as specialists in the area for deaf education and for children with any type of hearing loss. Students come to us from the entire Midwest region, and we've got 45 learners in the school. We've got an early intervention class, primary classes, but it's post-primary classes we're talking about tonight. And all our students have a deaf or hard of hearing, and some of them have additional learning needs as well. So for what it was like before, I was one of the teachers that was teaching school leavers, so I know exactly what it was like, unfortunately, the madness of it all. We had the responsibility of planning for all the post-school options, and that was really difficult for us because we were working on an already full timetable. We had a QQI module on work experience, and that was good for us, but it was just trying to get all of that together and look at where the students were going. we had learners with lots of different abilities, and that brought a lot of challenges because we had students who were doing Leaving Cert, QQI level 4, and were heading on straight into college. And then we had other students who were heading to adult day services, and we had to be the preparer of all of those students, so it was difficult. One of the big things that was always asked was the class teacher, like, you know, when we were heading off to the centres, what do we do with our other students? Because they're always in the classroom there. We've students, maybe 3 or 4 students in second year, third year, fifth year in the one class. So the CES transitions pilot came about. We were one of the schools that came in phase 2. And that was, we started in September 24, and it was a godsend to get the 6 hours. Honestly, to get a transitions teacher made every difference to us in our school. We had a subject specialist part-time teachers in the school, so Evan was one of those, and we were able to top up his hours by the 6 hours to take up this project. And that was brilliant for us because Evan worked really closely with the class teachers, and that was great for handovers and for planning for the year ahead. Also, Evan had sign language, which was really important in our context, and he knew the school and the students as well, and all of our students are different. So the practical things that we changed in our school, the big one was time. It gave us time to focus, allowing the learners to change their pathways. Because as we know, once some person, just because they decide in fifth year they want to, as Tamara is saying, go somewhere and go to college, that might not work out. They might need to do something else beforehand. So the pathways changed. And one of our students gave a talk in Dublin Castle for the guidance group on that lifelong guidance project. And she had this slide. She thought this was her life. She was heading from primary to post-primary onto college and getting a job. But starting on the transitions pilot project, this was now her pathway. And this is her flying along all those twists and turns on the path, and there's learnings on every one of those twists and turns for her and for us as well, and for everyone on the project. So what did it look like in our school? We had 5 leavers last year, and they were in 2 different classes, which made it quite difficult until we got a dedicated teacher, and there was now time on the timetable for those teachers. It gave a real sense of importance for the subject. It was a subject in its own right, and the students loved that. It gave autonomy to us to develop a program that suited our learners. It wasn't coming just from the department and saying, this is what you have to do. It's, this is what you've got. Make what works for your students. And that was fantastic to hear. It had a real positive impact on all senior learners in school. The class teacher was available for other learners while our leavers went out with Evan. It gave us time to meet with other colleges and service providers in the local area. We got great support from Derek, Patrick and Ciara and the team, which was invaluable to all of us because they're always at the other end of the phone. Those emails work if you do send them on a question, I promise. And then we had shared learning days with the NCSE, and they were days where Evan and I could go and meet other teachers in the other special schools that were on the CES project. It was allowing us to build those communities of practice, which were so beneficial to us. But the big thing was the networking that went on. And there you are over the cup of coffee, sharing ideas and like listening to what's working well in other schools and then bringing that back to work in our school, which was fantastic. We were organising work experience and linking in with local organisations. I'll talk more about that in a minute. The life skills module is great. Like we were heading out to the local cafe, to shops, getting the students out to places like the Crescent Shopping Centre, to the city centre, all using public transport and giving them excuses to get them out, whether it was going shopping for my lunch or whether it was heading out somewhere. It was giving them importance and they were doing a job and getting out. We had a mini business and that was teaching them that money management, which Patrick was talking about, how important that is. And they did a sandwich making business, which was hilarious, and knits for the hairs and all of that. It was great. And butter faster was one of the teachers' favorite things on that. It really taught time management, and time is so important to all of us. But to a student who struggles, getting down and learning time management is very, very important. Also writing their CV and preparing for leaving. And I think that's a big thing like that Tamara was talking about. We have to have, and it's something we're really passionate about, real high expectations for our students. They deserve that, and we deserve to help them to reach their goals. one of the big things that they worked on as the group was planning their graduation, and they loved it this year. They really got down to doing everything with it. I suppose as a principal in a school, one of the things that we really need is the funding. And the funding that came with this project, getting our students out, getting a bus, getting them to places was really important. So the National Learning Network was one of the big ones that we went to. We have students from Limerick, Clare, Cork, Tip, Kerry. So getting them out to different places is expensive, as you can imagine. So we went to the National Learning Network in Ennis and Limerick. And then there was a big day service centre in Castletroy Park Hotel. We went to that as well. We went to the Julick Centre in Ennis, to Limerick College of Further Education for those students who would be going on to do a level 5 or a level 6 course. Chime is the National Charity for Deaf Children or Deaf People. So we were with them on their Explore programme as well. The APP travel programme. If any of your parents or teachers out there, if this is something that's really valuable, and the support workers from the APP project came into school, took the students, brought them out, got them used to working on going on public transport and stuff, and it was really good for them. We went to Deaf Village Ireland as a school for the deaf. That was really important for us to get there. And then we went on life skill trips, like out to the cafe. And one of our students presented at that Lifelong Guidance Network event in Dublin Castle about how transitions was helping her make her decisions. And that was her pathway that we were watching there. The work experience is really important, and it's something that I think we really need to push. We need to get our students out of school while they're safe and sheltered, and it just gives them that scaffolded approach to getting out and to experience life out in the real world while they're still safe in school. We also did a life skills module for those students who weren't able to reach level 3 or level 4, and they went on 2 placements of work experience with Evan, their teacher. And we were able to tailor that to the needs of the learner. One of the learners, that was Amy, that presented in Dublin, and she went to Barack Obama Plaza, and she got a part-time job after doing it. So she loves it, and she's famous, and she's always saying, if you see me, come up and wave at me. So if anyone's passing, go in and say hello. Some of our students worked in a local cafe. One of them, he got a great job, and part of the perks of it, he was allowed to sit down and eat with somebody that came in that he knew. So Granddad came in one day and we all went over, but he was getting free food, and I think he liked that more than the work, to be honest, but it was brilliant. The Maldron Hotel locally in Limerick were really good, and some creches and in the students' home places and in Limerick were very, very helpful and getting our students into work experience places. But the confidence that they had when they came back and the stories that they had telling us about going to work was really, really important for them. And it's something that the stories were told on graduation day and everything. So it was really important. Business in the community was another link that we got through the CES project. And it was fabulous to meet people who were set up and who wanted to learn from our students just as much as we wanted to learn from them. They helped us and supported us in planning that work experience module. They're hosting CV and interview skills workshops, and they're doing that this year as well. So that's brilliant. And for us, it helps to increase deaf awareness in the community because we're such a small community, and to get people knowing and asking questions. Like this year now, it's already, they know they need to get an interpreter for our students. Last year, they were asking about it. This year, it's already planned. And we're going to try a trade workshop with them, with Irish Rail, in February 26. So the students are really looking forward to that. The day opportunities officer that comes in from the HSE, I would really, really encourage your parents, teachers, everything, really get those learner profile meetings in with them. Like, they come and they meet with us in school. They meet with the teacher, with the class teacher and the principal. And it really gives us a time to focus and look at that student and what they're able for. And that's the key thing, what they're able for, and pushing them and making sure that they're doing the best that they can do. They will meet the parents at home in the house, or they'll do it online if you want them to. They will outline post-school options, and those new courses that were added, they are up to date on every one of those. We can't be up to date on everything that's out there, but the Day Opportunities Officer are. So it's just a fabulous resource to have. And then those changes in those pathways, that twisting and turning that we saw on Amy's pathway, that's happened for every one of our students. Nobody has said, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, and gone there only. So that pathway changes all the time. So helping them to liaise with the managers and disability officers in the colleges, in the centres where the students have gone, like that's been so important. And to just have somebody on the other end of the phone to pick up, it's great. And then one of them has accompanied one of our learners with the teacher to a centre to see about sign language and how that was going to help when we got there. So, like, I suppose for a school for the deaf, that's our biggest thing, but we have students with a lot of other needs as well. Student voice, and Patrick spoke about it. It's something that we're extremely passionate about in our school, and that is their voice and their sign language, whether it's on their hands or whether it's orally. We really want them to have their voices heard, and this project gives a wonderful amount of time, and it is fantastic to have it because their opinions, what they want, don't just have to be listened to, they have to be acted on. And we have that responsibility as teachers and as parents and with the department to act on what these students want, and we have to really listen and get there for them. So looking at our 5 graduates, where are they now? One of our students is in Roscrea at St. Cronan's. Another student is in the National Learning Network in Limerick. And another student is in the Project Me, and that's with the Brothers of Charity in Kilrush. So it's not just the day centre, it's a specific project working, building their abilities and pushing them to the best that they can be. And our student that's there is doing really, really well. We've had lots of feedback from everybody and where they are, and that's really nice because we have that one point of contact now in school, and that's Evan, and everybody is feeding in and checking up with him. We've another student who has gone to the National Learning Network in Ennis, and our last student unfortunately had to move abroad with his family due to very sad circumstances, but his place was set up before he went in Kerry, and he has moved abroad, and he's gone to a country where they don't have programs like this. So we're hoping that will come in the future for him. We might go on a trip abroad, Derek, and try and figure it out and bring Patrick with us, what they can do over there. So our class of 26, what are they doing? We've got 3 learners there, and they've got very different needs and hopes for next year as well. We've got one who's going to go straight into her level 5 and level 6 program. We've got one who wants to go to work. And then we've got one who doesn't have a clue what he wants to do. And that's okay. And that's all right because he's working on his profiling meetings at the moment. We did go to the What's Fit Next fair that was on in the South Court Hotel this year. It was on about 2 weeks ago, and we brought our 5th year students because we've only 3 leaving this year. We were able to bring the 2 that are leaving next year, and I think that was really important for them because they got to see what's out there, and now they're thinking about, oh, maybe I might like to go to that college, or I might go there. And another thing that's really good for us is we really encourage our past pupils to come back and to talk to us and to sit down on a day that they're not too busy in college and tell us about it and what's going on. So that gives our students something else and what's, to look forward to. The National Learning Open Day is coming up as well, and that's a really good thing for us to go to. The Pathways events in the Limerick College of Further Education is there, and they have invited our students to go back at a time that's really quiet, when there's not going to be all that background noise. So I think the colleges themselves are really picking up on what our needs are as well, which is really good for us. The Chime Explore program for anyone with a hearing loss, that's incredible. And I would encourage you to link in with Chime if there's anybody here with a student with a hearing loss. And now we're planning the work experience and finding where they can go. And we're keeping those life skill trips out to the cafe, out to the local community. Like we keep saying, get the students out as much as possible because they've come through academically. A lot of them have their level 3 done, their level 4 done. Some of them are working on their level 2. But we just need to get them out while they're in the sheltered environment of school. So if there's any parents that are on the webinar this evening, and I know Patria was saying there would be, forward planning is the big thing. I would say to you, go to the events and the affairs organised by the HSE and the colleges early. We're not just going in to find out what English is like in this college. We're going in to find out what everything is like, what they can do, and ask the hard questions. And they are hard questions, and we do have to ask them. I would say link in early as well with the day opportunities officers in your local area. And I would really, as a principal, encourage you to come into school and meet with us, not just the regular SSP meetings, the student support plan meetings, or the parent teacher meetings. look for a meeting specifically to do with transitions and moving on, and really focus, keep that focus on the meeting on that day, because it is something that is so, so important. Start thinking about work experience now. We all know somebody somewhere who might help out with work experience with a student, and like, it's really supported and scaffolded if they are doing it while they're in school. And it's something that we're really passionate about in our school. We've been doing it for years, but this year, with the benefit of the program and the pilot program with us, we now have the funding to go and visit them more and things like that. So it's really important, and it's really beneficial to get out there and do that. And I would encourage you to ask questions, because no question is a silly question. Just ask it and share information honestly. Because I've met with parents before they go into the meeting with the day opportunities officer, and they're saying, sure, I can't tell them that he can't tie his own laces yet. And they're like, that's exactly what they need to know. So it doesn't matter what they can and they can't do, as long as you're honest about it, because we want to get our students into the place that works best for them. And if we're not all honest about it, they're going to end up somewhere that might not work out, and they might want to leave and go somewhere else. So I would encourage you to be as honest as possible.
Sorry, Maria.
Yeah.
Are you nearing
I'm done.
close?
This is it. Yeah. Sorry,
Lovely.
I can't see
Thank
timing.
You. Thank
yeah.
you.
So this is the transition project. Derek knew I was going to ask for more hours. There it is, Derek. Definitely, we need more hours, and I would love to see it brought out to more schools as well. Learnings for career guidance and special classes in mainstream school. I know those learnings are going to be brought onto them by the NCC and by the department. And then time for all our learners throughout the post-primary. And then just the last thing, it's just transitions program. Can we change it to career guidance or future pathways or something like that? Because our students start transitions when they come into the early intervention class. So that's me. And I'm delighted to have the opportunity. And sorry if I went over time, but I'm thrilled to be here, and just to say thanks to everybody.
No, thank you. I mean, it was all very, very valuable information. And I think it really got to the heart of what is hoped for among families, certainly.
Yeah.
And that anxiety felt by families and by individuals with intellectual disability, around what is next. And I like the emphasis too on how we need to start early. That came out, and as a lot of people registered, like when do we start? When do we start?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're thinking of it, it's time.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we don't have time for questions in depth, but I did want to give each of our speakers just another 15 seconds. Just if you have a word of encouragement in particular for our family members out there, or it can be toward to a professional who's working in this area, what would be your sentence, your words of encouragement?
I go
first, yeah.
I go, just if anybody, as I said earlier, if anybody has any questions or if they want anything answered, if they want to email me directly or Patrick directly, that's absolutely fine, and we'll try and answer the questions. In relation to the more hours, Maria, we're always fighting for more hours for everything.
I do, Derek. Yeah.
That's good to hear too. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, that's a constant battle. So as you can imagine, so
no, we're so thankful for what we have.
Keep up the good fight.
Yeah,
Patrick.
Yeah, I suppose my message would be to reach out, whether it's to the NCSE, the department, other schools. If you're a teacher, whoever it is, this might be your first time going through it as a family member but it's not other people's first times. There is good practice that we can share that will make that transition not easier, but maybe slightly better. That's all. So reach out.
That shared journey.
Whoever it is. Shared journey, exactly. Yeah. So that's it.
Tamara?
Always listen to the student that you're teaching or student in college, and to make their future a better place, because no one needs being left behind. And my message is there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, And if you have any questions, like everyone else said, please email me and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Maria.
Yeah, I just, as a teacher in a special school, I would say to any of my mainstream colleagues that are there, pick up the phone to your local special school, go in and visit, because we do have a lot of resources, we do have a lot of knowledge, and we do like to share and we do like to help. So if you are there near a local special school, just pick up the phone and ask, and I'll share my details as well. I'd be delighted to help anyone that we can.
Lovely. Well, I want to thank all of our panelists for their time and their talent, and especially for their passion in this area, because there is a growing interest in providing for the rights of persons to have access, equal access, be it a special school, a mainstream school, whatever walk of life that they're in. So I will further, as I've mentioned, share resources and all the contact details for everyone here tonight. And thank you for all of our participants for engaging this evening. If you have further questions, I will compile those and add as much information to the follow-up email as I can possibly. So thank you all and good night.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.